It's already recording, but don't worry. Okay. Hi everyone. So today we have a very special guest here, Dr. Megan Varnum, and she's gonna talk a little bit about how she transitioned from academia into the big bad industry and how she's helping those evil people to cure people with diseases. So not so evil, right? And so yeah, so thanks for coming today. I mean, she's here for career day, but I had to use this opportunity to generate some really cool content for you guys. So if you could please talk a little bit about how you started in your PhD and went into this crazy world of technology development. How did this happen for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, I started my PhD wanting to help people. I did a lot of basic research in my undergrad work. It didn't really go anywhere. I kind of felt like it was pointless. So I wanted to major in pharmacology because that to me was directly translational research. You're going to develop something in the lab that's going to become a drug someday and cure people. It was a very naive way to think, but it turns out drug development is very hard and very long. Most of it fails, but I wanted to get those skills. My grad school work ended up still being a lot of basic research. I learned the theory behind drug development. I learned the terms. I learned the different, the stages that the drug goes to get to the clinic. But still, I wasn't really doing the work. It was a lot of basic research in Alzheimer's. So then I wasn't sure if I still really liked academia or not. So when my graduate career ended, I thought, what do I do next? Do I really want to get out of academia? Do I really want to get some hands-on experience with something translational? So I decided to go to a place called the Scripps Research Institute for my postdoc because they advertise themselves as a place that does a lot of translational work. I worked in the neuroscience department. Unfortunately, it turns out I didn't really want to take much of a risk. I picked a lab that was very similar to what I did in grad school. I knew I could do the skills. I knew I could do the project. I was kind of staying within my safe zone. So that's number one thing you shouldn't do. You should learn something new every time you make a career move. And it still was not translational. A lot of basic research. So when I finished my postdoc, I had met my husband there, and he moved to Michigan for a job. And I decided to follow him. And I decided, this is the time I'm not going to do academic research anymore. I am going to move out of that area now. I briefly did some science policy research type of stuff, but basically when I got to Michigan, I kind of started to really put some work into exploring other career opportunities. So I did a lot of networking. I did volunteering with the Alzheimer's Association, trying to get introductions that way. One connection led to another. Public policy work didn't really pan out, but that work ended up introducing me to someone in a technology transfer office. And that connection is what led to the web of all the other connections. She introduced me to a place called Spartan Innovations that exists solely to support companies coming out of Michigan State University to transfer that technology out of the school. It introduced me to Michigan Economic Development Corporation, the Small Business Development Corporation, all these different entities within the state that are there to support small businesses and startups. I did a lot of interviews, a lot of driving around, a lot of 1.5 hour drives for half-hour meetings, lots of coffee, lots of phone calls, lots of emails. But the great thing was, when you meet one person, they recommend 4 other people for you to meet. So then you go and talk with those 4 other people. Those 4 other people want you to meet someone. And so that's how your network just naturally expands. And eventually you're talking with people and they're introducing you to the same people you talked to back here. So now, you're
The field is over.
Yeah.
You know everyone knows you.
Yeah, and everybody knows your name. So now that company, Spartan Innovations, has a job opening and they know I'm out there looking. And I'm looking to get experience in startups because that's where the technology goes from the university and gets started on the path to market. So when that job opening came, they thought of me and they hired me for it.
That's awesome. And so But what exactly are you doing now? So you were working in this Spartan Innovations that was just for MSU.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still helping this sort of development part from the research into technology?
Yeah.
And how does that work? So does the faculty come to you with an interesting idea? Do you reach out to them? And how does this process work in general?
So for Spartan Innovations, it's a subsidiary of the Michigan State University Foundation. Exists to support small businesses coming out of MSU. So usually what happens is a university professor has an idea, they do an invention disclosure with Technology Transfer Office. Once their idea gets past a certain point, they can't get basic research funding for it anymore. No more R01s or R21s or anything like that. They want to bring it to market somehow, and they can't get funding for it. So Spartan Innovations is there. They paired me with a couple of startups out of MSU that are trying to commercialize the technology. So one of them was to commercialize a drug. So I was tasked with writing a small business grant for them from the National Cancer Institute to get some early small business funding to develop the technology. I helped them write up a business plan, helped them come up with a finance plan, helped them write some pitch decks, business summaries, business plans, the whole thing. I got to learn all of it, and I got to learn, how the Technology Transfer Office and the university side is mixed in with this early stage development, what role they play, and then where the small business goes from there.
So if you had to, I feel like it's like a puzzle, right? You're trying to fit the pieces, so in the end you're gonna have the full picture, which is a drug into the patient. And you talked a little bit about the ecosystem of startups here in Michigan. So what are some of the key aspects of this ecosystem that you would like to highlight as very important for, everything is sort of important, right? But what would you feel like it's something that is very important and that people should really, I'm trying to bring this sort of knowledge back to Brazil so that people can kind of apply that. So what structures or what pieces of this puzzle do you think are the most important for this technology development?
Well, there's two major things startups, especially in this state, have trouble with, and that's money and talent. So funding is a big problem. We don't have a ton of venture capitalists in the state, and honestly, they're not going to put any funding in anyone until your technology's at de-risked to a certain amount. So the state actually has a lot of funding opportunities to support small businesses in those early stages that can't get outside money. So there's different fundings on the university side to try to get you a little bit further so you're ready for a small business. And then there's a bunch of different pools of money as well that the state provides to help you get someone to help you write a business plan, help someone help you write a small business grant. So that's what BBC does, another company that I work for now. There's the Invest Detroit, First Fund, Detroit kind of seed funding opportunities that they'll give to companies that are small pools of money, but they're enough to get you to the next milestone, to try to get you to a point where you can get a small business grant with the government that's bigger money, or to get you to a point where a venture capitalist is going to be interested and say, this is a good product and we want to be a part of it. So state funding is a big part of it. And being introduced to all those people in that network, they all know each other and they all talk to each other. So that helps with getting the talent. So when a small company comes along and they really need a scientist, and they might only need a scientist for 6 months, it's hard to find someone willing to do that. But hey, we know about this person working at this university who's about to graduate and they need a job and they want startup experience. They're keyed into that network. They're keyed into, who are the people we have in the state who have experience in this kind of technology or have successfully brought small businesses to a successful exit, who can come in and advise the company or run the company, be a PI on a grant for the company. So they know the network basically, so they can help you get that talent. So getting money, getting talent.
These are two very important things. And so when we look at drug development and technology development, there's a lot of failure, right? But there's still a lot of money on the other end. And since most of my audience are graduate students, but some other level scientists, what would you tell them when they're looking at this field and they have that anxiety from the great field it has, but they also are very stimulated to go because there's a huge payoff in the end. So how would you advise them into moving into this field from academia into this technology development?
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of risk involved, and there's not a lot of stability. The pay often is not very good, but when you work at a startup, you get a ton of experience in a bunch of different areas that are going to be applicable to many different kinds of jobs. And honestly, when you're in that network, you're going to be in it forever. And you can go on, if your idea doesn't go anywhere, you go on to the next business. And now you have all that experience under your belt. So your chances of your next business being successful is going to be increased because you bring all that experience. I mean, the first business I ran, I made a lot of mistakes because I was learning it by doing, and now I know better. So the next time it's going to be better, so, and the next time, and the next time. So your chances of success are great. Your technology, it might fail, but that's okay too. Getting your company to a successful exit is a success. Even if your drug didn't pass the clinical trials, even if it didn't make it into humans in actual disease patients or anything like that, it's still a success if you were able to bring money into your company, if you were able to get a pharma company to buy it. That's a success. It brings money into the company and you made a profit. That gives you credibility. It might be the next company, has similar kind of product that, is much more promising, and they can hire you then to help bring that project to market as well.
So even that failure has a growing process as you jump for the next sort of project or technology development pipeline.
Yeah, there's a lot of failure in entrepreneurship, but failure does not mean you're not learning and being successful in your own way.
And failure is there's a lot of failure in science, so
exactly. So grad school trains you. It trains
you learn
for
to
that.
fail a lot. So yeah, he's coming. Okay, just a second.
Supposed to be here in this room, right?
Yes.